So hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are talking about an interesting topic in making the hurdle rates or the formation of the hurdle rates in the firm. Basically, we have seen the what are the hurdle rates. Hurdle rates means the benchmark or the threshold point. If you want to know that, it is a benchmark for the firm to minimum passage of it for returns, so that if you have invested in something, you will be having some sort of benchmark or hurdle rate in which the firm needs to or the return needs to pass that in order to pass to get you or any sort of operation that needs to be done regarding to the firm is required here. So we are talking here about today the hurdle rates. We have already talked it about hurdle rates yesterday, but today we are going to talk about it in a detailed manner. Means how we could use the CAPM. Said earlier, CAPM will be capital asset pricing model, so that we can use that in particular sorts of data. But as I said in the earlier class, everything has a loop or everything has a failure in it. But CAPM is used in the most frequent way of designing the assessing or accessing or any sort of varying the prices in the general firm way or a bond way. So today we are talking about it in a riskless investment factor. So here we are talking about risk free rate. So in life generally we don't have anything for guaranteed for lifetime. So we will be taking for warranty of at least to 1 to 10, 5 to 10 years. So we will be defining everything in the span of 5 to 10 years. Everything will be having a warranty, but it is not a lifetime one. But if you talk about it, it is a risk free factor for any sort of appliances or any sort of electricals to be risk free for some certain time, but it is not a lifetime process. So today we are talking about it in calculating the risk free factor or the defined rate that could be shown in the progress or in the investment or in the return, so that it is explained by the CAPM model. So the CAPM model here can be used by expected return, that is equal to risk-free rate plus beta. So here beta, as I said earlier in the yesterday, what we consider in the beta is expected return on the market portfolio, that is risk-free rate. Means in the low risk or the riskless investment, we will be having compulsory return of estimate to the 100% in the return, so that here the risk free rate plus beta, here the beta is, as I said, no, expected return on the market portfolio, that is risk free rate. So here we will be using the CAPM as a base model for estimating some sort of prices or the estimating some sort of risk free factors. So here the models that will be used as an for the process of finding the risk free rate, expecting the market price or the market risk premium, where the market risk premium is expected to be following or the investment that is kept to for the investments in the risky assets like market portfolio. So here the market portfolio which gives us the um, less ratio or the less risk that is in the form of the return will be taken as an output or will be taken in the CAPM, and the beta of the asset will be analyzed. As I said, no, the beta will be taken according to market portfolio or the risk you have invested in the market portfolio. So here we will be talking about the risk free rate and the time horizon. So the time horizon means the amount of time that you have kept your investment in or amount of time that you have taken for considering the year or the, as I said, no, in the, it might be a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, the amount of time that you have kept it is taken as the time horizon. So the risk free rate can be defined as the actual return always is equal to the expected return, that is known as the risk free rate. So per suppose we have to save the investment to be risk free, then the actual return will be equal to the expected return. Means I said, no, it will be 100% guaranteed that how much you have expected to be returning without any risk, this will be coming back in a 100% rate. So here the riskless factor or the risk free factor will be acting as a main factor for the uh, coming of return or the returning of the money in the 100% scale. So this has to be considered in the two parts that will be taken as for, or we can say that if you want to get the return without any interruption or without any risk, they should be following two conditions. Means that will be, there has to be no default risk. Means there should be no sort of minimum starting risk to the investment, so that which has security has been issued by the government. Means the entity should be uh, showing you some sort of or giving you some sort of encouragement to be investing in that, so that the government will be taking the charges or the some sort of main factor will be taken by the government, so that it will be giving you or issuing you or reassuring you the minimum aspect of the investment that you have kept in. So however, all governments will not be giving the some sort of risk free factor for every person, because it is not viewed as a default one. So you should be seeing which government is giving which currency you have been using. So for the later on we will go on to that, but every government will not be giving or every company that is related to the government also does not give it. So the second condition here is, there can be no there can be no uncertainty about investment, that will be implying to the zero investment rate. So investment rate will be less for the companies which does not give any sort of assurance that of the investment that we have done, or the return in the risk free rate. So these are the two conditions that need to be followed in the process, where you are expecting to get uninterrupted return or any sort of actual expected return. So if you are expecting the actual return to be equal to the expected return, then you need to follow these two conditions. So here we will be taking, as I said, now these two are the conditions that will be we need to be following. But in the cash flowing system, basically we will be taking in time or in sort of as I said earlier, in the time horizon, so that you might be taking for 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. So here the comparison or the calculation can be done here by taking the cash flow for 1 year. Means the zero coupon, means with the, I said no, zero investment rate with the zero coupon, you will be comparing the 1 year zero coupon to the 1 year investment. Means you will be seeing about, so if you have invested for suppose for 2 years, you will be here seeing the cash flow for 1 year. Sorry, cash flow for 2 years. If you have invested for 2 years, so that the zero coupon will be applied for 2 years. Means you should not go, you should not feel any sort of risk for 2 years, or the zero coupon or the zero investment rate should be maintained for 2 years. The company shows that. So you have to be practically thinking that if there is a substantial uncertainty about the expected cash flows, the present value of the effect of the using the time varying the risk free factors is small enough that may be not worth it. Means if you are expecting some sort of amount by the end of these 2 years, but the government has given some sort of deviation in the process of making it as an risk free factor. So there you will be having a minor changes in the expected output, but you will be having 99% of the outputs at your required rate, so that will not be mentioning worth it. So that you have taken for the you can take it for the granted, so that you will not be calculating any sort of risk in that, but you will be losing some 1% or 0.5% of the amount that you need to be getting in the expected value. So the basic guidelines or the bottom lines in which the risk free factors will be showing us is, using a long term government rate even upon a coupon. As I said now, in the zero coupon also we will be taking the risk free rate on all the cash flows in the long term analysis, will yield a close approximation of the true value. The true value means the expected value. The here it is telling that we will be seeing, we will be expecting a true, as I said in the before point, as I said, we are expecting some sort of value, that is true value. But there is some deviation or some sort of loss for us in negligible manner, so that you need not consider it. And the risk free rate that is used for the analysis should be in the same currency that your cash flows in as an estimated. So if you are estimating some sort of cash flowing in, you should be using the same currency in the two estates. Means if you are, for suppose you are using um, for calculating risk free factor in a US dollars, then the market of premium that is checking should be also in the US factor or US dollars zone. If you are checking it in the euros, it should the zero coupon or the investment rate or the any sort of idea that should be taken for the estimating should also be in the euros. So you should not take any sort of deviation from the selecting of the currency, because it does not depend on the company or the country that you are dealing with for expected return. It is only mainly based on the currency. So here the if the government is perceived to have the default risk, means the government will be saying there will be some sort of default risk by saying, for suppose in the 1.75% or 2% in the default risk of losing it, or the interest that is used by the government bond rate will have to be subtracted by default spread rate, so that default spread component will be not taken in the concept of risk free. So for suppose we can say here, if you want to calculate the default spread, you can be saying that total amount that you have been invested minus the risk free factor. So the risk free factor will be taking the main concept here, which is declared by the government, so that you are basically thinking about investing in a property and it has default some sort of risk. So the default spread here is calculated like that. So if you are going to make the choices for selecting the default spread, then you can go for the three types of choices that you have been offered for. So they adjust the local currency government borrowing rate, so that for all the default riskless currency, that will be local currency. For suppose if I am in India, so now I am in India, but I wanted to see, first I have bought it in the US dollars. So now I have to change it into Indian dollars, Indian currency rupees, so that it will be in a less default rate or less risk, checking it on the factor that how much the government has been provided. As I said the formula, now we will be seeing that we will be cancelling and we will be subtracting from that, so that we will be getting the final default spread. And we will be having second type, that is do the analysis in the alternate currency, where getting the risk free rate is easier. So if you want to check according to the risk free rate, you will be having some sort of tables in the Google, so that every government may or may not apply the or giving out the information about the risk free rate in their country according to their currency, so that you need to do your analysis in the real terms, in which the case of the risk is free rate. So risk free rate can be here taken out of the context and seen in the different types of currencies. Means if for suppose if you are taken in the first, you have invested in the US dollars, now you have seen the risk is more at there, but you wanted to change it into another currency, so that the risk is less in that, so that you will be seeing in the worldwide currency rate, Japanese yen as the less risk free rate, that is 1.75%. That is, there the currency will be changed, or the US dollars will be changed into Japanese yen, so that the risk will be so much less for us in the return. So here the estimations are basically divided into two types, that is market based estimations and rating or risk score based estimations. So the market based will be further divided into two types, that is sovereign bond spread, means finding the bond dominated country, so that you can find your currency that you have invested in and compute the default spread by comparing US dollar to the euro dollars, or the euro pounds or euros. So basically here he is saying that the point I have said before, that the bond that is the company or the country that produces you the minimum amount of default risk rate, and you need to see the country where it shows if you are changing the money into from US dollars to euros, So I have said no, for the lower risk rate we will be following generally into any currency into Japanese yen. But here in this we have changed now to euros. So euros also has the default risk rate of at least 2.75 in Germany, and highest of 6.75 in taking Slovenia or like that, Portugal or anywhere there, we will be having 6.7%. So in that countries we will be we will be changing that into that currency, so that we will be having any determined or predetermined bond that will be changed into that country's bond, so that the risk will be less. Next, CDS market. So CDS market will be based on the time horizon. The more amount of time you have been invested will be taking you to the lesser rate of risk according to the investment. So the second one is rating or risk score based estimation. So as I said, no, when we change the currency, we will be seeing the risk that is involved in taking the mean transactions, or risk that is basically reduced by transferring the amount from one currency to another currency, will be taken as an here table, so that we will be checking every year, or you will be noting every year how much it has been changed for taking the less risk. So these are the two factors that we have seen today, or this is the final way that is we have been estimated a hurdle rate without any risk, or risk free rate will be estimated. So here by the conclusion we can say that we should use only one sort of currency from last to first, sorry, first to last, so that the currency estimation will be taken in that type of country where the bond has been, or the default spread rate has been already fixed. So as I said earlier, here in the Japanese yen has the lesser riskless rate, so that the Brazilian currency has the highest risk rate. So here, but there is a minus factor, or the negative factor for the Japanese yen is that there is no inflation in the money, means there is no rise in the currency growth. So if you see, for suppose now, every day according to India, the US has been growing according to 75 rupees to 70 to 80 rupees, in between it will be there, and the euros will be changing from pounds from 80 to 100 rupees. So there the inflation is more so much there, so that as the inflation is more, the risk will be more. If the inflation is less, the Japanese yen will be having the less risk factor. So there is some sort of negatives for everything. Each and every system, now I have said, in the market based estimates or risk score based estimations, will be having the loopholes for every sort of thing, because they also cannot give the true value out of it. As I said earlier, true value cannot be found at the particular 100% rate, because these are the estimations that we are doing, or expecting the value to be returning in some sort of span of time. So this is how today we have learned about the hurdle rate. Tomorrow we will meet in the next class.